Well, it's time to talk about Fender again. Truth be told, I didn't want to make another video about Fender. I was actually in the middle of shooting another video today that I'm much more excited about, but a new story has dropped today, and I think it's actually a pretty big deal. As of today, June 22nd, 2026, Thomann, which is the largest music retailer in all of Europe, has sued Fender. They posted about it this morning on their blog, explaining why they've decided to take legal action and give some more clarity. I will have a link to the blog post in the description box down below. I highly encourage all of you to go read it so you can kind of see for yourself why Thomann has decided to do this. Now, I wanted a little more clarity on this, so I did some digging and some asking around, and I found out a little bit more about what Thomann has actually filed here, because it's not a straight up lawsuit like you and I might be thinking of it. Instead, what they're asking for is what's called a declaratory judgment. Now, before we get into any of this, please note, I'm not a lawyer. This is based off of the research that I've done. And obviously, this is not legal advice. I'm just trying to explain stuff, so hopefully that should cover me for this video. So in plain English, a declaratory judgment basically is a court ruling that just declares what the legal situation is. It's not like a typical lawsuit that you and I might think of. A typical lawsuit is what's known as coercive, meaning someone wants money or an order to stop. They're looking to win something from the case, whereas a declaratory judgment more so is just asking a judge to rule, like, what is the legal situation here? Where are we at with this? And it's genius, I think, for a few reasons. One, it kind of flips the power dynamic here, because from the jump, when the story broke, almost a month ago, Fender has sort of held all of the leverage, all the power over these guitar brands and these retailers like Thomann, who have gotten these cease and desist letters. But effectively what Thomann's doing here with the declaratory judgment is kind of taking power back from Fender and saying, you know what? No, we're going to handle this right here, right now, on their own turf. They get to decide what district court in Germany gets to make the declaratory judgment, again, as I understand it. So looking at Thomann's post here, their blog post, it starts off by saying, why are we taking legal action against Fender's cease and desist demands? The Stratocaster is one of the most famous guitars in music history. Over decades, it has inspired countless luthiers and guitar manufacturers to develop their own ideas, think ahead, and create new instruments. This is exactly why we are following the current developments around the cease and desist letter demands issued by Fender against numerous manufacturers, distributors, and dealers in Europe and the USA with great concern. See what they're doing there? They're already setting up the case that the development and the story of the Stratocaster has not only been Fender, it's been, a multifaceted approach by lots of builders and players over the years, which I agree with. Here they're talking about the default judgment that Fender won back in March of the Dusseldorf Regional Court, saying this judgment is based on missed deadlines, i.e., pure formalities, and does not, in our opinion, represent the comprehensive review of the legal claims. On this basis, Fender is now attempting to enforce a fundamental copyright claim to the body shape of the Stratocaster and is simultaneously taking action against European dealers and manufacturers. American manufacturers who sell their instruments in Europe, however, are also affected. After careful consideration, we have decided to take legal action. We've done so because we are convinced that the questions raised here go far beyond a mere legal dispute and affect the future of diversity, innovation, and competition in our industry. I agree wholeheartedly. Fender has tried and failed time and time again over several different famous court cases to win a trademark claim and a copyright claim on the Stratocaster body shape, and they've lost every single time. And here in the United States, the Stratocaster is now in the public domain. It is legally known as a generic guitar shape, meaning Fender has no claim, no ownership, and no right to any form of compensation from anyone else building Stratocaster style or S style guitars, or any other Fender body shape for that matter. In fact, Thomann brings that up here in their article. It says, in the motherland of the Stratocaster, its form has long been considered to be in the public domain. The free use of the Stratocaster as a model for one's own creations has been and remains the basis for countless further developments from which the entire guitar world has benefited, including Fender itself. One of the most famous examples is Eddie Van Halen's legendary Frankenstrat. The instrument gave birth to the idea of the Super Strat, and a development began that has inspired generations of guitar players and makers. It's hard to imagine a world in which this growth was nipped in the bud. We are, of course, interested in having Fender's allegation of copyright infringement resolved in unbiased court proceedings. Likewise, Fender has the opportunity to present all their arguments to the court. The court may then initiate discovery, which has not happened so far. So there's a couple of important points in this section that I want to point out. First of all, in case you didn't know, Thomann is not just a retailer. They also own the company Harley Benton, which is a massively popular sort of budget-oriented import guitar brand. And of course, they do S-style guitars, which is part of the reason why they got sent a cease and desist letter from Fender about a month ago. But then there's another point here that's really interesting, which is Fender has the opportunity to present all their arguments to the court. The court may then initiate discovery, which has not happened so far. And this goes back to the declaratory judgment idea from a moment ago. In my opinion, Fender probably doesn't want this to happen because the more information that comes out and the more that, current legal doctrine is tested and lawyers are looking back at the past failed attempts by Fender to copyright or claim copyright of the Strat body shape, why it's failed, all of that stuff will be brought back up again in the discovery process, again, as I understand it. The more that Fender's legal argument is looked at with scrutiny, I think the faster it's going to fall apart. In my opinion, that's what Thomann's trying to do here. With a declaratory judgment, they're sending a shot across Fender's bow saying like, all right, let's take this to court. Let's see what you got. You think that you have an actual case here. Let's test it. But let's say, for example, that Fender wins this case in Germany and they now hold copyright to the Stratocaster body shape. Even then, they really don't have much of a leg to stand on because that ruling, depending on which court it goes through, would only stand in Germany, meaning that it would only have the rights to the Stratocaster body shape in that one country, not even necessarily in all of the European Union, which means they wouldn't be able to enforce this copyright claim anywhere else in the world. And this is due to an idea called extraterritoriality. Basically, this is the idea that a country's laws in regards to copyright end at its borders, right? You can't make a copyright claim in Germany and then tell manufacturers in the United States or in Great Britain or in Japan that they can no longer make and sell Strats in or between those countries because of what Germans said, because of what the German court said. That ruling would only apply in Germany, and then it would be up to Fender's lawyers to go relitigate the same case in all of these different countries or territories like the European Union and win for them to actually monopolize the whole Stratocaster body shape based off of a copyright claim, which, to go back to, is such a flimsy argument for Fender to make for so many different reasons. One of which, Leo Fender didn't design the Stratocaster body shape by himself. There was a team of about 3 to 4 people that were working at Fender that helped him design that shape. You have to keep in mind, Leo was not even a musician. Famously, he couldn't even, quote, tune a guitar himself. He was a designer. He was an inventor. He was an engineer. He was someone who was obsessed with manufacturing and design and iterating on those designs. And as far as the United States is concerned, Fender probably will never win a case of copyright for the Stratocaster body shape. And part of that is thanks to a 2017 Supreme Court ruling called Star Athletica. This was 2 cheerleading uniform companies that went to court over some designs, like artwork that was being applied to the uniforms that they were selling. And the Supreme Court's ruling on that decision effectively says that useful objects themselves cannot be copyrighted as works of art. You can, however, take artwork and apply it to a useful object, and that artwork itself would be protected under copyright law here in the United States. For example, if you painted a guitar or you put a artistic design on a guitar, the design that was on the guitar body would have copyright protection, but the guitar body itself, the body shape itself, cannot be copywritten according to the Supreme Court in this decision because it is a useful object. It says here, a feature is protectable only if 1, you can perceive it as art separate from the object, and 2, it would qualify as art on its own. So a guitar body shape does not survive that test, because if you take the shape of the body away, the guitar is no longer a useful object. The shape is part of what makes the Stratocaster a useful object, a tool. Fender has, in my opinion, no legal case here. And I see people in my comments on these videos and on Instagram like trying to defend Fender and saying, I hope they win. And I think that is so misguided for many, many reasons. One, this has already been settled for over a decade here in the United States. They lost, and they've lost multiple times over the decades on this case. But two, you have to recognize that, in my opinion, what Fender's doing here is trying to monopolize, and monopolies are never good for the industry, for the players, for the businesses, anyone. And the frustrating part about this is seeing how already Fender is doing so much damage to not just themselves, but to their dealers. In fact, I think right now, those are probably the people that are feeling this the most, are the small independent guitar dealers. In fact, I think that's part of why Thomann decided to do this, was on principle, which is to go up and say like, look, you're not going to bully us. You're not going to tell us what we can sell and who we can sell it to. And so put your money where your mouth is, Fender. So what's next? I don't know. I imagine at this point, Fender has to come out and make some kind of official response to all this. It's gotten too big. It's gotten too noisy. Now that one of the largest music instrument retailers in the world, maybe even the largest MI retailer, has come out and filed a lawsuit against them, they're going to have to come out and say something. And, you know, Edward Bud Cole, the CEO's speech, his unfortunate speech at that dealer meeting last week, is not an official statement. I think they're going to have to actually come out and say something. My hope is that that statement is them announcing that they've fired Bud Cole. In my opinion, the only way for Fender to start making this right and to start moving forward past this is to fire their CEO and to start some kind of apology tour. Because at this point, they've effectively turned almost the entire industry against them in the span of 3.5, 4 weeks. I've never seen anything like this. And to my knowledge, I don't know that this has ever happened before. I don't know that we've ever had a major retailer sue the largest guitar and bass manufacturer in the world. Now that you have a company like Thomann who has filed a lawsuit, this is going to get more press, which means it's going to start to bleed out beyond just the guitar industry and us guitar nerds online that like talking about this stuff. You're going to start getting press from other outlets and other publications and creators who are not just in the guitar industry. And the bigger this case gets and the more aware of it that people are, the worse it's going to be for you, because it doesn't look good. No matter what angle you look at this from, it's a bad move on Fender's part. So my argument to Fender would be cut bait, get out of there. Fire your CEO, get someone in there that knows what they're doing, and start your apology tour. I'm not playing my Fenders anymore. I don't want to play my Fenders anymore. It sucks. Like every time I look at my Tele or my Strat and I see that Fender logo on the headstock, I get angry. And I can't imagine that I'm the only person feeling that way. I've seen the response in my comments on these videos over the last several weeks, hundreds, if not thousands of them, people saying, I will never buy Fender again, or I've been playing Fenders for however many years and no more. Now I'm looking at my first PRS, or I'm looking at LSL, or I'm looking at all these different brands. In fact, I've thought about making a video telling you, based off of my experience, the best alternatives to Fender in every single price point. Because at this point, I don't think, in my opinion, this is a company that you should support. And it pains me to say that. Like I said in the first video that I made on this a few weeks ago, like I love Fender. I have worked closely with Fender in the past. I have been hired by them. I have done sponsored videos on this channel with them. And I know people that work there that are good, honest, kind, incredibly creative and talented people that are being impacted by this negatively. They're being hurt by this, all because the leadership of this company is motivated to try and monopolize the guitar industry rather than try and compete with the likes of PRS and Sir and LSL and Thomann and Harley Benton and all these other brands. They would rather take some bullshit legal argument as a way to eliminate their competition than actually try and build and sell you a better quality Stratocaster. what does that tell you about the leadership of Fender currently? So I guess that's it. I will try and keep you updated here as the situation develops. I don't like making these videos, for the record. I was in the middle of shooting something else that I'm actually excited about showing you and talking about, but thought I'll have to wait now for a few more days because I've spent all day reading up and researching this. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You can join the Discord server linked down below. There's a lot of conversation about this and other subjects happening over there. Also, if you want to support the channel, check out a video course. Fretboard Fundamentals Ultimate is on sale right now. Links in the description box down below. That's a great way to support me if you like what I'm doing here. And that's going to do it for today's video. My name is Rhett Shull. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon on another, hopefully not Fender related video.